Okay,
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.
Astronauts to the moon.
hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host, Vikka Draziv. Guys, welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, do comment, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. And if you're watching us from World Flat Earth Association group or Flat Earth Research Network group, to comment and tag your friends. And if you are watching us from realtruthseekers.com or rts.video, welcome everyone there too. And yes, realtruthseekers.com is one of our main sponsors for Heliopsychosis podcast and most of our coming productions. So a big shout out to rts.video. It's the shortest link to get over there. And yes, also a very interesting topic we have today. Let's jump in with our host and panelists. First is everybody know him from our production team, Genie. How are you, Genie, brother?
Hey, Vika. Doing really good. Thanks for the show tonight. This is going to be an interesting topic to do some like speculation work on and see just what looks like what in the pages of the Bible compared to flat Earth, right? Yeah. So this will be great. Thanks for being here, everybody. Good to see everyone in the chat. Hope the week was nice. Hope the weekend went great. And this will be a lot of fun. And I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for being here.
Oh yeah, brother, definitely. And our next panelist is Keith Cameron. Keith, how are you, brother?
Hey, Vika, doing real well. Good to be with you guys again. It's going to be a good show tonight, and it's a good topic. It has a lot of misinformation around it. Hopefully, we can bring some clarity and some simplicity to it, because I know it's used to beat people over the head sometimes, and a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth when you talk about the Bible, but there's still millions, maybe billions of people who look to it and trust it for inspiration and wisdom. And when it comes to the subject of our flat Earth and our stationary Earth, the Bible definitely implies that time and time again. So it'll be good to bring up some of those verses or scriptures and just let them say what they say instead of trying to misinterpret or misinform people about it. Let's just take it for what it says, whether it actually is literal or metaphorical, whatever it is. It's more pieces to the puzzle, kind of like last week. Last week was another piece to the puzzle. So good to be here with you guys.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. And our final panelist is she was here with us last week too, Evelyn Gold from Holland. Evelyn, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm getting to like this a bit too much. I'm okay. A bit of a cold, so I probably sound a bit hoarse. But
Yeah.
looking
So in
forward to explore some of these verses.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, before we jump in the show, yeah, we just want to make it clear that we're not trying to push any faith or belief or religion, because we're going to be covering quite a different cosmologies and faith or religion, whatever you want to call it. As we said, it's just for the sake of understanding, investigation, research, debate, discussion, and differences of opinions. That's the reason we are doing these kind of different topics. So with respect to everybody's opinion too, that's the most important part. And especially on this podcast, or like we are done like almost series of flat earth, flat earth discussion, like, because we have learned the most important uh, topics, in order to better understand the issue of the reality where we live in. So this ain't gonna be more different than that we are trying to research and understand what this cosmology also have to say about flat earth. So, and yes, definitely, Christianity is one of the biggest religion, number one religion in this world. So Bible definitely is one of a very important piece of uh, literature, we could say, or scriptures that millions of people really take it as the word of God. So, and definitely there are contamination in every religion and faith, every literature and every scriptures have been kind of intent to contaminate or manipulate and turn the meanings in different ways how it suits to them. And it's the same thing happened in Bible about the flat earth too, because the people literally they want to take in their own way. So I have seen a lot of articles and even about Bible where they're literally trying to put it around the ball in a way, the cosmology, right? And Bible is no different than any other cosmology or any other spiritual scriptures that speaks the shape about this realm and the creation story. So there are intent. So we're going to be trying to go more deeper on that too. So for sure, Keith, you had some connections also with the church, and do you see the differences? What the flat earth believers who believe in the Bible and the global believers who believe in the Bible?
Yeah, I do, but I have to say this. I mean, being a believer in Christ, but not necessarily Christianity. I mean, the way I explain it to people who still are churchgoers and Bible believers is that to me, Christ is everything, the creator and everything, but Christianity is nothing. Christianity, for me personally, and I'm not pushing this on anybody, you can just take it or leave it, but I do know people that feel and believe like me, is just another religion. A lot of weakness, a lot of contradiction, a lot of battles and fighting and human ego and drama. That sums up Christianity pretty well, but I think it does most religions. I grew up in a Christian home. When I was a speaker, actively speaking, I traveled the country and spoke in churches in many states and cities. And I left that world probably 7 years ago. There was too many contradictions, too much hypocrisy, and say, well, everybody's a hypocrite. Well, there might be some truth to that. I mean, we all know things we should be doing that we're probably not doing. We all fight a hard battle. The old saying, don't judge anybody unless you've walked a mile in their shoes. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. But to answer your question more directly, Vikka, the globe believers who try to still believe the Bible are also church goers, and I'm not a church goer. And most of the flat earthers that still believe in the Bible or still believe in Christ, they're not church goers either. And the way that I say it, for my American friends here, is that the church here is in bed with the government. The government gives them the tax break. They don't have to pay taxes. Why? And this is, again, my opinion. People who are listening can take it or leave it. The church is dumbing people down, just like the education system is dumbing people down. It's keeping people looking to someone or something outside of themselves as an authority for themselves. And, once you come to flat earth, it's just the opposite. You start realizing you are responsible for your own life. I mean, if people say, well, how can you say, this is an intelligently designed system? I have Globers tell me that all the time. I say, well, that's my faith. I believe that it's intelligently designed. Can I prove that to you? No, but there is such extreme precision to this system that we live in. I can't imagine it being a random accident explosion of nothing that created everything. That takes more blind faith than any religion I've ever heard of. So, I mean, I have conversations with people about flat earth almost every day of my life. Most of the time, I do not go into the subject that we're covering here tonight because it's just, for the most part, it's unnecessary. And once you start touching somebody's religion, the old saying, don't talk about politics and religion at family gatherings or whatever. There's some truth to that because people take that so personal, like it's part of who they are instead of just something that they believe. So I try not to get into this subject that we're into tonight. I try to stay away from it. But sometimes I have to bring it up. And for me, it's an absolute slam dunk that the Bible is a flat earth book. And if you want to talk about Jesus, I have to believe that Jesus was a flat earther also, living 2,000 years ago. Everybody knew the earth was flat and stationary. Everybody knew it was an intelligently designed system. It's just been within the last 500 or 600 years that this heliocentric nonsense has been gaining traction. So anyway, that's a long answer to your question, Vikka. I have been in that world, but I feel pretty far removed from that world as far as the church goes. But as far as scripture and the relationship with the creator and the spirit and the designer of this place, I still have my own personal relationship there, or my personal experiences there. And I think most of us here do.
Oh yeah, the best part about all the cosmology is that you are connecting to the creation is one of the most important part, but it's also the creation story of every race in a way. So having that literature and trying to understand literature is very important. And the other thing what we see also too common is that there are very hardly any churches, if we are speaking about churches, who really preach flat earth. I may be wrong, but there could be few, but like comparison to every churches that exist, and the majority don't even look into it about where are you living, where is your origin, what is your place, where are you. And the most important topic in a way to to ignore, like following, because we see that the Vatican and these people are literally, they are pushing NASA and all the globe earth and all their BS, right? And including many churches and many pastors too. So they are literally like, taking it out, the most important aspect of we being special, or the center of the or the center of the earth, or the center of the universe according to our creation, right? So right from the start, it's taking them in a wrong way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people, all the time, if you are a Bible believer and you believe in the globe, you're contradicting yourself in the same breath. I mean, because you can't really believe the Bible and believe the earth is a globe. They don't go together. They don't help each other. They hurt each other. The first chapter in the Bible, in Genesis, talks about the sun being created, I forget, the third or the fourth day.
Third or fourth day, yeah.
But the earth was already here. So what was the earth orbiting around for the first 3 days if the sun hadn't even been created yet? So it's a major contradiction to say, hey, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I believe in the globe. Well, you're just regurgitating stuff you've been brainwashed with, and that goes for the government scriptures of the public school system, as well as the scriptures in the Bible that are preached from a certain perspective to promote the propaganda of the Vatican.
Exactly. Yeah, what you wanted to add, Evelyn?
Yes, I can think of just like last week, talking about the Book of Enoch. That's probably why it was probably the first one taken out of the Bible that we are allowed to have, because I mean it explains so explicit what the moon and the stars and everything moving around, you know. So yeah, that's not something that that they want us to learn about. Otherwise, too many people would be asking questions and doing more experiments and more observations, and yeah, they can't have that.
Oh, yeah,
And
that could be one of the reason. Yeah.
yeah, and these creationists, actually, my sister, I had a sort of a bit of a, you know, a WhatsApp argument to and fro with my sister, because when I first came to know about the flat Earth and everything else, I thought my sister was going to be one of the most open and understanding, because I know how Christian she is. You know, she is a churchgoer, but she's very much into Bible study. I mean, she studied Hebrew for 4 years, and she's been studying the Septuagint, and but now I'm thinking, oh, well, you can learn all you want, but I mean, you haven't learned anything actually. And I told her, I said, well, look, this is happening. I mean, I'm even coming across, you know, this idea that, you know, even the Earth is flat and all that. And she immediately went in the defense. Oh no, you shouldn't get involved with that. It's gonna make trouble, and I'm like, what? You know, the one that I thought would be the most open to it, she's actually bashing the whole idea, and telling me not to get involved in that path, not to go down that path. But I mean, it was too late already. Anyway, yeah, it's very much, they feel so strongly about it. They can't open their minds to say, okay, what, you know, what is it? Why do you think this? You know, show me something. The only reason she wanted me to show her something, things, was to actually use it as a fuel, or as how to say, as
A weapon, as ammunition. Yeah.
weapons, as ammunition to get back at flat earthers. And so I had to stop. Actually, you know, I was thinking, okay, you know, this is it. I'm not going to say anything else to her, because it's only gonna give her more fuel, more ammunition for whatever she was. And I found my niece, her husband. He came across the flat Earth, and I pushed him to look into it, because he was looking at other stuff, so I pushed him to it, and it took him a couple of weeks to actually come to the conclusion that, well, yes, actually, and if you're gonna take the Bible and what's in it literally, I mean, you have to take it literally from cover to cover. Then you can't pick and choose what you believe, or what you don't believe, or what you want to take as a comparison, a simile. Because when it's a comparison, it does say in the verse, or in the scripture, it is as a, whatever, or this the parable of, or the story of, um, it states very clearly when it's a comparison, and otherwise, otherwise you have to take it literally, and it makes it all that much easier, because when you take it literally, you are not bringing in any preconceived ideas or teachings. I mean, you're just taking it just like it is. So,
Yeah, but as I mentioned, like the people who,
Mm.
the globe earthers, or the Bible believers who are globe earthers also, they try to wrap it around in their own way. They do that.
Yes,
They are
yes, they bring,
doing that. Yeah.
yes, they bring in their preconceived ideas, which they have learned, well, indoctrinated, which they have learned in school and in this society. Bringing those teachings into their belief. That it's impossible for them to separate that and to think, well, what they've taught us is not true. Well, it is. It's not. It's not true. They can't separate that. It's so deep indoctrinated. It's so deep in their minds that it's impossible for them to let go of the ball.
Yeah,
And yes, they wrap everything in the ball. And my other sister, she was saying, yeah, because she was explaining really well about the firmament, that it's hard, because she actually, they don't believe in that NASA, that rockets are going up into space or anything like that. Everything is enclosed. So I'm saying, well, if you're not going to believe, if NASA is already lying, I mean, about this, why are you going to believe them for anything else? It's so yeah, and she couldn't give any reason, she couldn't give any reasoning for that thought. But they do believe in the enclosed system, and one of the verses which
But
says
that's
that.
interesting because it's one of few of the verses speak about the vault and how
Mm,
it's a
yes.
solid structured dome, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the Hebrew word, it's rakia, which means a hard structure. So yeah, they do believe in those terms, but they wrap it everything around the ball. And there's also one verse, somewhere in the Bible, I don't know where it is now, which says that the earth hangs on nothing. And well, when it hangs on nothing, it means that it's not hanging on anything. It's just, it's not moving. It's firm. It's placed on pillars. It's placed on something. That's why it's not hanging on anything, because there's no space to hang it in anyway. But that's one of also the verses that they use to explain that it's floating somewhere.
but they also have, for example, around at that time we had civilizations like the
Hmm.
Egyptians and the
Yes.
Sumerians and the Babylonians, who had very similar cosmologies, or the
Hmm.
Hebrew cosmologies, to from where the Bible also comes, so they should have an idea more or less of a bit of the different culture around, and that they have a similar kind of cosmology, because the Egyptian cosmology have also a closed system,
Yes.
with this.
Yeah. Yes. Alle. Oh. Oei. I was switching to Dutch. Sorry. um, all old cultures, civilizations, they had the knowledge of a stable, flat surfaced um, Earth with a dome or something like that above it, containing the stars and the sun and the moon. So when people say, "Oh, but nobody has ever believed that the Earth was flat," I say, "No, well, actually, yes. It's the other way around. Everybody knew the Earth was flat, and this lie, well, we don't really know when it came about, but I mean, people will say, yeah, because Copernicus and this one and I don't know who, and they figured it out, a couple thousand years ago. Well, were you there? I mean, can you believe this? This side of the story, where they say that these people, they measured this, and Aristophanes with the sticks and shadows, and well, were you there? Well, it could all be made up. You don't know that.
Exactly, because when we were speaking about the Enoch last time, the Enoch was supposed to be around 5,000 years old, and the Bible is around 2,000 or more years old. More or less. So the globe, how long have been the globe been in the scene? We are speaking about maybe 500 years, or maybe another 200 years to make it up first before before pushing it in. So
Yes, this is a lie that has been going on for a very, very long time, and you can't just expect it to go away in a few years. It's everything has been so cleverly thought out, every little detail, and NASA is a big part of that, because they need space, they need that how would I put it? Yeah, the universe. They need that thing out there to make people believe that there's more, that we can actually go to space, and
yeah, it's the Big Bang. Yeah, and
and the Big
we all are
Bang and all
nothing.
that.
I don't know if you guys have heard about the new. They have a new sound of the Big Bang. You guys should hear that, man. It's crazy. It's like somebody's like.
Oh yeah, yes, I've seen it. I've seen it. I think I must have heard it once.
Now they have a sound of the Big Bang, and it's so funny. You guys should check it out. So yeah, in the end, what they're doing is what NASA is trying to do with their fake science and universe, and they're trying to hide God. They're trying to hide the creation. That's their, it's just the
Yes.
direct rivalry of creation. So that's what its main purpose. Because if we see all the different cosmologies and all together, everybody's saying the same except NASA. With the globe. So
Indeed,
it's.
yes.
And yeah, it's according to the Bible, on the fourth day, where the sun and the moon were made, and then the stars were created and placed inside the dome, or the firmament, or the rakia, what it speaks about,
Yes, first he made the light, and then I think on day 4, or day 3, or day 4.
Yeah, day 4 was the.
Second day.
I think they were.
On the second day, he made the firmament, and the dry land was on the third day. Yes, and then let there be lights in the firmament to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And he made lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. The two great lights, the greater light, that's the sun, to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars. So that's all he made in the fourth day. He made the sun, the moon, and the stars on the fourth day. So there was light before, and he had already made the grass and all the plants on the third day. So even before there was a sun and the moon, he had already made the earth fruitful.
If we can park right there for a second and just make the point again, I know we've made it before that the sun is not a star and stars are not suns. For people who believe in the Bible, they believe the same bullshit that NASA preaches, that our sun is a star of millions and billions of other stars out there. And if you're going to believe the Bible, that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says the sun is one thing, the moon is another thing, and they're both lights themselves. It wasn't one great light that shined on the moon and the moon reflected the light. It says that there's two great lights, but then it also says then there's the stars. So the sun is very different or distinct than the stars. And it's amazing. People look at me like I'm crazy when I say, well, you know, our sun is not a star and stars are not suns. And they're like, what are you talking about? But I mean, if right now, if we're addressing Christians who believe in the Bible, I mean, it's right there in black and white. The sun, moon, and stars were created. So the sun and the stars are very different. It's a simple thing. But if everyone believes that our sun is one of billions because of the government scriptures, which is the public school system or the government school system, which indoctrinates people from the time that they're 4 years old or 5 years old, putting a globe on the teacher's desk, and the teacher, who was also indoctrinated, just regurgitates all that stuff to these little kids that are taught to look up to this as an adult as an authority in their life. And I mean, maybe you guys can't tell, but I have a problem with authority or I have a problem with so-called authorities in my life. People who assume the authority of your life usually do not have your best interest in mind. They usually have their own agenda and their own interest in mind. So anyone who assumes the authority of your life, whether it's a government official or if it's a pastor or a priest or a rabbi, they have their own agenda. And as a flat earther, someone who is a seeker for truth, I think my life is my responsibility, and I'm not going to trust you just because you say it's true. I need to know for myself, and I have faith. I have things that I believe that I can't prove, and that's my faith. But when it comes to flat earth, there are so many proofs that this earth is flat and stationary that are scientific that, we don't, like I said earlier, we don't have to bring the Bible up in that. But if you're a person of faith and you believe the Bible confirms the science of the flat earth. I mean, just the natural physics of a large body of water, that one thing alone completely debunks the globe delusion. And I don't know why it's so hard for people to understand that. That's just such a simple scientific fact that the waters are flat. But I know the indoctrination runs deep, and it's hard. You were saying, Evelyn, like your sister, whoever it was, that they can't consider things that contradict their mental conditioning. And I run into that every day. So all I do when I run into someone like that, I say, look, just try. Please, just try to question what you believe. Ask yourself, is this true? Is it possible that what I was taught about God or the Bible or about the earth, is it possible that what I was taught is wrong? Because most people are not willing to answer that question. They think or they assume that what they were taught is true. And as flat earthers, we became flat earthers because we were able to question the things that we believe. And as we did that, we realized, wow, some of the stuff we were taught is not true at all. And I think that's part of this journey that all of us are on now, is realizing there's more and more stuff that we were told is true that's absolutely not true.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because also the mention of the luminaries, as we are speaking about in the Bible, the importance of the, even after it's saying that it's created the day and the night, that the creation of the sun and the moon and the star is a really important creation too, because we, as we spoke about in the last podcast too, that it's how important are these luminaries for our survival, be it the sun or the moon or the stars, right?
Yes, I have a whole list here of verses which actually says that the sun moves and not the earth. And it's I'm not going to read them all because it's but it's a whole list from Genesis, Exodus, Deuteronomy, is here, Joshua, Numbers, Chronicles, even in the New Testament here, Matthew, Mark, and sun stops moving. That's in Job. This one I can read because there was Joshua. Joshua said, "In the sight of all people, sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon, until the nation shall have revenged itself upon its enemies." And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Joshua. And the sun stood still in the midst of the heavens, and it stood still 36 moments. And the moon also stood still, and hastened not to go down a whole day. And that's the only time that happened, and it's probably not going to happen again. But it was the only time that God actually, answered in that manner to a man. He actually stopped the sun and the moon from moving. So that's quite
Yeah, in itself, it's showing what is the movement, what are the real movements are. It's not of the earth, right? Yeah.
It's not of the earth, because they would have had a real problem then if the earth had stopped spinning. I mean, everybody would be flying to the other side of the room,
Exactly. I don't know what excuse the globe earth believers of the Bible have for this one about the stopping of the sun in this verse.
That's what they say, is that in their perspective, well, in everybody's perspective, you see the sun and the moon moving and the stars. You don't see the earth falling backwards. So in perspective, you see the sun and the moon. So that's how they wrote it in, that's how the story is written, that the sun and the moon stopped. But in their reasoning, the earth is spinning, so they assume that the earth stopped spinning. So, but I mean, everybody would have had a big problem there if that was so.
But wouldn't it have said that?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You think it might have said that if the whole earth stopped?
Point in the Bible, does it say that God made the earth float in space and just made it spin like a top? So
I don't have a problem with it having no underneath. I don't have it. I don't. That doesn't bother me if there's no pillars and we're just floating here somewhere.
yeah, that's the thing. We don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
we haven't.
That doesn't. I don't.
Yeah,
okay.
but this is the thing. There are many different interpretation of the stationary earth, because some say as a footstool. Some say as shovel, the legs. But you see, what's the important part also? If you see in Hebrew cosmologies and Christian cosmologies too, and but you see this dome structure a lot, right?
Yes.
A dome structure, with the arcs, the dome structure with the arcs looks like the model of the flat earth according to the Hebrew cosmology, right? If you see those domes of the Jerusalem and many different places, you're gonna see that it looks like the model of the footstool of the enclosed system globe, a vault, half a globe, it does look like. Hey, it's Robbie with us. Robbie, how are you, brother?
Good. How's it going, y'all? Everybody doing all right?
Awesome, brother. You have to speak a little bit louder or closer to the mic. We don't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah, a bit
Is that
better.
better? All right, good deal.
Yeah. How are you? How's it going?
Man, doing awesome. Just chilling out in Texas right now.
Awesome, brother. Your inputs of what we've been discussing from the last uh, half an hour.
I think for me, it's and I'm not trying to force my narrative on anyone.
We still hear you very low, Robbie. We hear you really low, brother.
All right, how about now?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I'll quit moving. So, from my perspective, when I read the Bible, I see obviously, yes, it's a flat Earth book. To me, like that's not even a discussion. Like if you're not being honest if you try to say otherwise. But I look at it and I see all these things that have happened already. Like I see where the things Jesus said, the things that his apostles said, all happened to them. And when we stop trying to use the Bible as a tool to, or a weapon, I would say, to keep people in a certain mindset, then we can actually break it down and see what's being said to those people, and things become so much more clear when you stop trying to make it about self all the time and start looking at it and be like, what was Peter going through? What was John going through? What would it be like if I was actually right there whenever Jesus said, or actually John, I'm sorry, where they were like, these be the days of vengeance, that all the things written be fulfilled. He was telling them right then and there, these things are happening. And when we see that, we can then see through the lies and we can see through the control and realize, oh, this was those people. This is a history book. It's telling me this happened. And then we can, once we see that, we can see through the controls, and you realize it doesn't matter which version of the Bible someone is reading to you from, they're trying to control you. Whether they're putting a Catholic label on it or a Baptist label on it or any label, they're trying to control you. And you don't need that.
So, what was that one of the reason that you distance yourself from that?
Yes, because it's all it is you see this person or this group, bless God, we have the truth, we know what's right, and as long as you believe it the way we believe it, you're good. And then 45,000 denominations later, here we are.
Yes.
And it's a train wreck.
Yeah, that's the way that I felt as a teenager, looking for a church group to belong to. It's like they are teaching their own perspective on things, and yeah, it wasn't doing it for me to not take the Bible literally as it is written. They're trying to teach you certain certain things in their own way. So I never felt comfortable going to church groups. So that, didn't make me any less of a believer or any less of a Christian.
Okay, we also have idea that before like the church was literally involved in control of information. Okay, the idea we have about during the a couple of 100 years ago. So I think it's very maybe now it's similar, but the same scenario was going on. So we even heard that the people who believed in the globe, the church used to punish them too, in a way, so there was a moment where this like transfer of idea or change of idea had to phased in a way, even to the church people, to have that control, because the religion also is in a way a kind of, as we spoke about, a way to control
Mm.
with the psyche of that spiritual aspect of the people, so they literally, the controllers had to, in a way, brainwash even the spiritual part of it, of church and whatever the religion was there to, apart from that, to change their idea of the world they live in, so a lot of investment in a way would have gone in, because we all know that it's very difficult for to change the belief what we have, so before they believed in flat earth, that
Right.
time.
Yes, yes.
Well,
According to what I hear in David Weiss interviews a lot, is that they were persecuting teachers in the 20s and 30s for teaching globe Earth. So it's not that far off. I mean, the 20s and 30s, and then you have to think about, well, then came the wars, and with wars they burned books and all that. I say, why were they burning books? Yeah, they were burning Bibles because they were against the church. No, they were trying to hide the truth, trying to rub out history, the true history. That's why they were burning books. And apparently it was a transition in the 20s, 30s, and even in the 50s, where in Europe they were still teaching flat Earth. I think in Hungary there's about 30% of people that actually still know the Earth is flat. 30%. I mean, that's a lot.
huge.
That's
That's a
great.
huge percentage. I mean, I get, I get the the feeling, just to pack up and go there. And so, yeah,
Brazil has high numbers also. I bet you
yeah,
South America just has high numbers, I bet you. But Brazil's got real high numbers, from what I
yeah.
Well,
understand. Yeah.
if you look back at the church, when I say the church, I'm talking about Rome, you can see where everything changes. You can see that originally these believers, these people, probably had access to the things that we feel are missing from us, whether that's the connection to God, where we see more metaphysical things, stuff like that. But it happened in up until now, it's in stages of, like, people used to believe in reincarnation. Christians used to believe in reincarnation. You get to, like, I think it was 535 is when the church outlawed and made it heretical to teach and believe in reincarnation, hundreds of years after the fact. So, and that's just one of the many things. You go and you see these councils, and they frame it as, the church fathers organizing, when it's not. It's them taking away little by little, just like they're doing with, in America especially, constitutional rights, little by little, infringe a little bit, get people to pitch a fit. They'll come at it real hard, like with gun control, for instance. They'll come really hard, and then when they see the reaction, they back off. Well, then once they back off, people calm down, and they'll go with the gun control, but at a lesser degree, and the people aren't as mad because it's not what they were trying to do, so they accept it. And it's the same thing. You can see it. They little by little chipped us away from our connection to the Creator, but it didn't used to be that way. And
They chip away at everything. Every time you turn around, every time you exhale, they tighten the ropes, so you can't
yeah,
inhale much anymore.
it's crazy.
That's
But
what
you
they.
can see
Yeah,
it, like, you can just watch it and you can see how it just happened. You watch
sure.
every, you know, and it's the same thing with laws, whether it's the church or whether it's your government. Every time they have some big council, some big meeting, pass a new bill, it's the same thing.
Aim high,
They keep
shoot low.
inching and inching and inching.
ask for 15 and hope for 10, and you're lucky if you get 8, and you're happy
Right.
if you get 5, right?
Yep.
It's all kind of
Yes.
union office kind of battles. And I would like to mention though that before they built anything, there were no churches. So I don't know if God really cares if we're in a church or not.
No, you
Together
not.
is
You're the
great.
temple. Your body's the temple.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Your temple's in your mind, and that's where this really all exists. And
Right.
you're supposed to pray. From what I heard, you're supposed to pray in private. You're not supposed to pray in public with everybody. It's it's nobody's business. Kind of what you're doing there, as far as I could tell. And the churches were, some of these cathedrals and churches were probably so, they're not built from technology we have right now, or are able to understand right now whether or not these people behind the scenes have it or not to do that stuff. I don't know, but somebody built those buildings, and they claim that they were moving themselves around with horses and carriages, and I have a hard time believing that. And there's the cathedral seems to be more like a healing center for neighborhoods or communities,
So
and more
I have a
preventative rather than they were more preventative. I don't think they were walked around sick like we do right now. They're making us sick.
right.
So
I
the
have
whole
a theory on this, and it all ties to our music and sound. I think that when they change the frequency of the music, they
yeah.
not only is it changing like our physiology,
Mm-hmm.
but it changes our psychological makeup so that
Absolutely.
our
They wouldn't have
design,
done
like
it.
when we're making art, when we are building buildings, the
Yeah.
way our minds see, we can't see the way they did it because that frequency is jamming us to where we can't see those angles and we can't see how they made that roof hold up the way that it is.
Right. Just like some people can't see, what's going on in front of them right now, like the stuff we're talking about. Any of these subjects, they're like, all right, you guys are crazy. It's just they don't understand it. And it's really kind of all there is to it right now. People
I
are
think
on
if we
different.
change that frequency, and it would have to be on a mass scale. I mean, we would probably
Right.
notice it individually, but on a mass scale, I think if you just didn't say anything and you just changed the frequency of music, and I believe that you would start seeing like architects start designing stuff like hundreds of years ago, these beautiful things, and sculptors making these marble things that we can't figure out and don't understand how they did it. You would see it start happening again, strictly from that.
I wouldn't doubt that, honestly. They did that stuff for a reason.
Yeah.
They did, and entertainment wasn't built to keep us happy.
You mentioned the cathedrals, Gene, and my personal belief is that none of those were churches. I mean, there's some of them that have crosses on top. There's some of them that have the moon with the star in it. There's other ones that have different types of crosses. There's some that have swastikas all over them.
I think they might have been retrofit, possibly.
Well, that's possible too, but I just don't think any of them were churches from 200 or 500 years ago. I think they were built left over from another civilization. But
I agree.
But I think that like I tell people, the Vatican did not, or the Catholics did not build the Vatican. Americans did not build the Capitol buildings in every state that match all the other Capitol buildings across the surface of the earth. The Mormons,
the Mormon Church, bro.
They certainly didn't build that temple out in Salt Lake City and build another one 500 miles south with their horses and cart at the same time. So all those buildings that are preached as churches today and tabernacles or cathedrals, those are all old buildings left over from someone else who probably didn't even have the idea of church or a Christianity.
Exactly. Like there was no, before buildings, there were no churches. They had no idea. And like Robbie said, the temple is in your mind. Why do you think they call that the temple? They're messing with us. They're playing with us subliminally. And they always have been. Works, we're not aggressive people. We're not, people get along really well, and they got us so confused. It's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. Okay. So one thing I also wanted to mention, also maybe already spoke before some things about it, like literally it says that the earth was created on the first day and it was formless and void, so, and on the second day a vault or a firmament was created to divide the waters from the waters above and from the waters below. So, and it's also speaking about only on the fourth day, the sun and the moons and the star were created and placed inside it. So it literally telling you in simple word how the creation was created.
Yes, you have to note that even before the firmament, because on the second day, he made the light.
Right.
So it was light before there was any open space in between the waters above and the waters below. That's
Might have needed the light for the plants. The good way to spot the difference between sunlight and daylight, guys, is on a really cloudy day, overcast, and at 12 noon, you kind of have an idea where the sun ought to be, and you can look up and not squint, and you can't tell where the sun is. That means there's no sunlight coming through, and it's just daylight.
Yeah,
it's a good way to be able to. You can spot, and what's the big difference is also shadows. Sunlight leaves shadows directly behind it or in front of it, whatever you want to call it, right? And the daylight leaves a very different type of shadow. It's not as sharp, not as defined. Like you can see shadows under a car, kind of under a big heavy tree.
Yeah, but indeed, the shadows. They are made because of the rays of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So the light is actually not making any shadows.
Something you get I've seen very little. Like you have to have a lot of coverage. Like I said, underneath a car, you'll see some shadow, some shade under there. But part of that, telephone poles and things like that, they don't leave any shadow. If it's a heavy tree with a lot of leaves, you might see a little shade underneath it. But if it's not a big heavy tree with a lot of leaves, it doesn't leave a shadow. It's got to be very prominent and low to the ground and heavy coverage. But other than that, there's really nothing to speak of. It's interesting.
So, but that's why is the reason also, right? The vault, the firmament, the day and the night before the sun. So there's a connection between the light of the day and night and the firmament, because it's also written that, like they create the heavens as hard as a molten metal mirror. The word is there, so there is an effect of that vault because it's more than 17 times that it's been mentioned. More than 17 times about the vault and the firmament.
Yes.
Like it's a solid physical object, according to that. And it's having that function of day and night apart from the sun and the reflection. So, yeah. All right. You guys want to add something before we go on a break?
That's actually.
I would throw in.
Go ahead.
I said that's actually perfect timing. I'm good for. I got to go change over some laundry.
All right, Jeannie, you want to add before we take a break? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, if anything, I always thought that it was easy to spot the separation between the church and state. As soon as I understood they didn't pay tax, that was the end of that for me. So, kind of combined them very easily in one conversation as a kid one day. But and I always thought that when I did believe in the solar system and Big Bang and all that stuff, and I did, I went for all of it. I loved it. I just thought God put a pile of dust in his hand and blew it across an empty space, and that was our universe. And that was how I explained what happened. I was Big Bang. I was like, well, that was their version of what God did because they won't acknowledge God or the
Oh yeah,
Creator. So
the
I
Big
had
Bang. The
right.
Big
So I
Bang.
had a
That is what some what the creationists describe, like in the beginning, it was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So what they say is that the Word, that was the Big Bang.
okay.
Yeah, and that, well,
But I mean, as far as like the creator of this place, I don't. If I called, "Hey God," in the street walking down the block, I don't think he would know his name is God, though. Honestly,
no.
or it's the kind of so. Just my version of it. Yeah, and we don't need buildings to go pray in. Everything we do is a
Oh
prayer.
no,
It all
no,
comes through God. Nothing gets to you before your
no.
spirits and your guides know you can handle it, and this is
I'd,
what's going to make you better in your
I'd rather
self.
go
And
out for a walk with the dogs and
yeah,
pray there.
yeah,
All right.
exactly.
All right,
But
guys. We're gonna take a short break, and we're gonna be right back.
Okay,
Cool,
cool.
guys.
See you in a minute.
Hey, welcome back to the show, guys. It's we got Jeannie, Keith, Evelyn, and we even got Robbie with us today. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to the people in the chat. It's Dr. Frankenstein, and there's Jay Daddy, there is AJ Knapp, there's Evelyn, and there is Elizabeth Marcano. And then we've got a few people from Facebook. Then there's Sherry Mack, Lady Jacqueline, Jonas Fig, Alan Norstrand, Stuart Truman. Yep. There's Uncool Paranoia. And a few more people from Facebook there. Then we have RTS updates there. It's saying live restream on RTS, and don't forget to follow Vikka Draziv on his RTS channel and his Flat Earth RTS group with 126 currently members. Yes, people do check out, because on RTS we also have a new features of making private groups and public groups. It's very similar to groups what we have in Facebook, but on a totally independent platform. So awesome, join there. Just look for Vikka Draziv Flat Earth group on rts.video. And there are more people from Facebook. Yep. So in the Bible, it also speaks about a throne from where the God can see everybody, and it says as in a way like the whole thing is like a tent you know, and like the tent, the roof opens and all the stars, you know. So it's in a way explaining, very similar to also of North Pole and, you know, the pole, North Pole, the North Tree, the tree of life in the middle, you know, as very different. Other cosmologies also speak about similar things. So yeah, there's a quite a similarity in that, with that the throne of the god being right in the north center, right above the dome, where he can see his creation and what his human beings are doing, right?
Right, and you can see everybody, and you can't do that on a sphere. You can't see an entire sphere, right? You can only see half.
Exactly. That's one of the thing also for these people to look into, right? And also it speaks about circle also, you know. It's like it's he could control that to see about being on that vault, about that dome with a circle below where the human beings live.
Yeah, there's a scripture. It says he sits on the circle of the earth, and that's one of the few that the Globers will point to and say, "Well, see, there he's talking about a globe, talking about a ball." No, a circle is not a ball. I mean, a pizza is a circle, but it's flat. And
Yeah, I
so,
think that's in Isaiah.
yeah, Isaiah.
In Isaiah, yeah, that's the one
Yeah.
my sister used. Yes, because he's sitting above the circle of the earth, but when you're above the earth, because a
Yeah,
ball, you can see, you know, you see it as a circle. I'm
yeah. So
like, well,
everybody living under the dome could do all the sins they want because God won't be able to see, right?
yeah, and it's really a very weak argument, because in the same, I think a couple of verses before, Isaiah uses the word a ball, so he does know the difference between a ball and a circle. He says
Exactly.
that Israel will throw you out like a ball, or roll you up like a ball and throw you out, something like that.
Exactly. And then there's yeah. Go ahead.
And then a couple of verses further, he says, you know, that God is sitting over the circle of the earth. So it's a very different thing. It was different words that he used to describe the you know, the circle and the ball.
Exactly. And also in Job 22:14, he says that the God walks from one place to another in the vault of the heaven.
Yes.
You know, how is this possible? Because he's walking from one side to another side, right?
There's another one in Job that I do use quite often for those who believe in the Bible, and that's, I believe it's Job chapter 38, where it says, "The earth takes shape like clay under a seal." And if you think of a seal, like sealing an envelope, and a seal like on someone's ring, and they push the ring down into the wax or the clay, you know, it's flat with upraised edges around it. And it's just another blatant, you know, proof to me in the Bible that the Bible is a flat earth book. I mean, you can't say that a seal makes a ball or a seal makes a sphere. A seal makes a flat impression in wax or in clay. And you know, Job 38 says that as clear as day.
Anybody that's pushed their thumb into a pile of clay, you can see that it gets pushed outwards and upwards from the outside.
Exactly. That's why.
Simple
Yeah,
as
that's why it's called depression. Like, and that's why we have those depressions here on the earth too. And the earth itself, it's like kind of a depression. I have a good video where I made with one of my friends who's a potter and who works with clay, and we made some designs, you know, and we printed those flat earth design on the mud, and like trying to represent that in a way, you know. So a clay, the earth is like a clay under a seal, you know, and and the creator is the one who stamped it, right?
And a dome is the strongest structure to hold the ceiling up, right?
Yeah.
And that would
Exactly,
and I
exactly.
don't know.
Because yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you can make it anything but a circle, because once you go off a circle, you start to compromise. It's not as strong as anymore. You
Yeah.
can make it any shape, but as soon as you deviate off a circle, you compromise the strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. And it is the Earth is repeatedly described with having a face, so upon the face of the Earth. So I mean, a face you can only have on a flat surface or on one surface. I mean, a square has faces, a triangle, a pyramid has faces. Just about any straight shape can have a face, but it's one side. You see it, you see the whole thing. Now, when you look at a globe, a ball doesn't have a face. I mean, and you can say, well, my head is round. It's like a globe, but the face is on the front of it. It's not, it doesn't encompass the whole of the back of your head. It's the front. It's what you see. That
Makes
is
a
the
lot
face.
less sense, right?
So yeah, that's it. It's repeatedly described as the Earth has, having a face. So then the only way it can have a face, it's because it's on one level,
One side.
flat surface.
Well, inevitably, if you bring up Jesus, you have to bring up Satan, at least in most circles. And this idea of, Satan creating or using the Jesuit priest to create the heliocentric hypothesis. I bring up to people like, well, you're going to go to church today and you're going to worship the creator while holding in your mind a satanic idea of the creation. So you're contradicting yourself in your own worship. I mean, you're worshiping the creator, but giving the creator credit for an idea that came from the creator's enemy. Now, I don't know what I believe about Satan and hell and all that stuff. A lot of times I'll say the globe is just as fake as hell, meaning the hell's probably created for fear, just like the globe is created for fear and uncertainty and doubt, that it was an accident and you're spinning and, oh, watch out, an asteroid might take you out at any moment, or aliens might invade and destroy the whole planet. And I mean, there's so much fear and uncertainty and doubt in Christianity, in other religions too, but in the entire heliocentric hypothesis and in much of what is preached from the Bible, a lot of it is fear-based. And that's the opposite of a creator of love and compassion and mercy and grace and all these things that we attribute to a God. This fear-based reality that we live in is perpetuated by the heliocentric hypothesis, and unfortunately is perpetuated by a lot of religions, including Christianity.
Oh yeah.
I think you left us all speechless.
Okay, and also what I wanted to add also about the shape of the earth, according to the Bible, in some part it says, I think Daniel, it says that the king saw a grand tree at the center of the earth.
Yeah, that's
right, reaching with its top to the sky and visible to the furthest limits of the earth. Wow, that's right there. It's telling you. Daniel 4, yeah, 10, 11, yeah.
I see. Daniel 4, 11, and 20. Yeah, I don't know. I have to. Maybe somebody is quicker than I am in in looking.
Yeah, so right there, it's telling you the furthest limit of the earth. How would it be possible on a spherical earth? Like describing like how is it possible?
Daniel here, small book.
And also it's talks about Like the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world
Yes.
in his glory.
Yes, he showed them all the kingdoms and offered it to him if it would worship. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Yeah.
This will be only possible if the earth is flat.
No, I'm not gonna sneeze. Okay. Okay. Okay, Daniel. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it.
Right. So right.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, and the last thing, I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and an holy one came down from heaven. So they came down. They didn't come across or up. They came down.
Exactly. Nice one.
Gravity.
Yeah.
Density. Yeah.
They were too dense to stay up there.
Yeah. So according to the globe earther, that would be the tree of life on the top of a globe. So where they can see their whole world in a way.
Okay. And then verse 20, it goes on to say over the tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth. So this was a very, very, very tall tree. So
Oh yeah, and the mountain that they also climbed on. So
yes. Well, if I'm getting excited. If you look in Google Maps, actually Google Earth, and you zoom in not very close to the ground, and you go to Scandinavia and Greenland. No, yeah, Greenland. No, Greenland is all white. It's all covered in white. Don't want us to see something.
It's not green?
No, that made me laugh.
Oh, look at that.
So, yeah, Iceland is green and Greenland is white.
First red flag.
Yeah, if you zoom in at a certain height, you will see the mountain ridges. They look like roots, like a root system. So, I mean, if that was the actual root system of this tree that they talk about, I can see it, reaching quite high, because it's a very, very widespread root system. If you see it that way, you just have to go check in Google Earth and zoom in.
right.
Isn't the North Pole like slowly disappearing in Google Earth?
Oh, it's totally gone.
It's gone.
Oh,
It's
geez.
gone. It's gone. And you
What do
can
you mean?
actually,
This is the age of information. How can it be gone?
yeah. Well, you
This
can.
can't be the biggest book burning we've ever witnessed.
Yeah, book burning of the 21st century.
Nah.
There's actually a line in Google Earth. You can actually look for a line, and that line is a white line, so it's the snow, I think, and it actually you can follow it to almost to the other side of the of what would be the North Pole. And I think I saw it somewhere on Facebook. I saw it somewhere on a video come up, and I went and looked for it, and I found it. It was really funny because
Wow.
you see it's like a pixel wide, and you see the changes between white and ground color. So it's quite funny.
Wow.
And
And
the-
when you use Google, if you spot a dime on the street, you can tell what year it is. But when you zoom out, it eventually turns into a cartoon. Right? You can tell what kind of sneakers you got on, how old they are.
Do you say that to people? I've said that to people in lives on TikTok before, and they just don't even process what you just said when you say that. They're just like, what? But and they just start talking, and it's just like, dude, do you know what
Satellite.
I said? You're watching supposedly satellites, what they've given you, and as you zoom out, all of a sudden, the ground turns to a cartoon,
Yeah.
like you're watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
It's not even that high of a height. I don't think.
No.
It's not like, I don't know, a
It's
couple
in the
hundred
tens of
miles.
miles, like 30, 40, 50 miles or
I'm-
something.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with my iPad, so I'm gonna check it out.
Watch, you'll see.
Where's my Google Earth now?
They think they're funny.
Got Google Maps.
yeah, hit that street view to where you get down, and then just start zooming out, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh.
In Fantasyland, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but they do that not only with Google Earth, they do that with many other applications of
Right.
navigations.
Yeah.
They have to have a landing page, like, in a way, a landing on a ball, and then they show us the normal, high altitude photography and images. And yeah, so the other thing also I wanted to mention is that apart from the Jacob's thing about ordering to the earth, the sun to stop, it also speaks about the sun movements, like how the sun moves, his ascent is at the one end of the heavens, like his circuits touches its furthest end, and nothing is hidden from his warmth, and that it's like a tent have been made for him in a way, like that he moves between, like, under this tent, under this dome, like, like a bridegroom from his wedding canopy, like rejoicing, like a strong man to run his race. Like literally, it's like literally telling you the real movement and his motive, and that his light is reaching, touching to the furthest end, so quite interesting.
Here's where I think when it comes to that, especially with the Bible and so many people, like, 2.5 billion people that are Christians or profess to be, when they see those things, it doesn't comport because they don't actually believe it. They think that book doesn't pertain to them in any way as far as in real life, and they don't actually believe. And that's what it comes down to. People just don't believe. They don't believe they are anything. They don't believe their spouse is anything special. Like, everybody pretends and says they want this, knight in shining armor, or this princess, this queen, whatever. But they don't want that. They just want, it's just crazy because people just don't believe. It's wild.
That's the nihilist.
Because it's mind-boggling to me.
That's the nihilistic, futile ball in space. You're a speck of dust and you mean nothing attitude.
Completely just separate. And that's my, like, the institution of the church is garbage. But there's like this attack on the book. And I'm like, guys, I think we need to quit attacking the book because you don't realize what the book is. And it tells you the truth in everything. It tells you what God did to save the world. And it's other than just that narrative, it's also a legal document. And without that, we wouldn't have free governments today. Like, it's the foundation of all those things when we realize that. And it's not about waiting for Jesus in the sky or going to the church or any of that stuff. It's about knowing if the kingdom is in you and you are a joint heir with Christ, you're his brothers. He said, go and tell my brothers. Like, that's what this life is being born. We're not creatures of Adam. We are creatures of Christ. All of us are born in Christ. Everyone since that time. We are joint heirs with Christ for everything. And the governments are and the institutions are what keep us from that make us slaves to these systems with our birth certificates, social security cards, and all this junk, and then give us that nihilistic, garbage education that makes you think you're nothing, and then you will easily just hand over this book that was a lot of people died for to get it into the hands of people so that governments couldn't control you with it anymore. And we don't know what it's for. And so we're slaves. Crazy.
I've got a theory that I'll share, and I've alluded to it in other podcasts. But you guys talked, or Vikka, you brought up Daniel 4 and the tree that everybody could see from everywhere on the earth all at the same time. And then in the New Testament, it says that Satan took Jesus to a very high mountain to show him all the kingdoms of the earth, which that would only work on a flat plane, that you couldn't see all the kingdoms of the earth if it was a ball. But just a theory. I have no proof for this, just my belief that in Daniel, the tree of life may have still been there, but by the time Jesus was here, had the flood happen? Did all the giant trees get cut down? I don't know. But did that very high mountain that Jesus sat on to look at all the kingdoms of the earth, was that the tree of life that had been cut down with all the other giant trees so that he could look out across the plain, the flat level earth, and see all the kingdoms? I don't know. It's just a theory of mine. I don't know if it is, right or wrong. But, like I said earlier, there's things that I believe. That's just my belief. It's just my faith. I don't have any proof for it. But there are certain pieces of the puzzle for me personally that just give me a greater confidence in the absolute fact that the earth is flat. I mean, when I talk to a lot of these globers, and they're like, well, you debate me. I was like, dude, there is no debate. I've already listened to you guys for 5 years. You don't have 1 ounce of empirical evidence for your magic spinning wet rock in outer space. There's nothing to debate. There's nothing you can say that Neil deGrasse Tyson or anybody else has not already tried to say. It's all subjective beliefs and opinions. That's the only thing you have. And when it comes to Christ and Jesus and being joint heirs and all that stuff, I can have faith in that, but I can't prove any of that. When it comes to the surface of this earth that we live on, you can absolutely prove that the earth is flat. So to me, the Bible confirms flat earth, but also the science of flat earth also confirms the Bible. So I try to separate what I think of as my opinions and my beliefs versus what I absolutely know as scientific, observable, measurable, repeatable fact about the place that we live. But I think it's good to mix it up and talk about it all, but just try to realize that some of the stuff that we as flat earthers believe, it's just a belief, like the ice ring. The ice ring may or may not be there. There might be huge continents out there. There might only be a little bit of ice, like we've talked about before. So, just acknowledge, the flat earthers that are listening to all of us tonight, acknowledge we have our beliefs too. We have our faith too. But the fact that the earth is flat, that's not a belief. That's an absolute reality.
Objective reality.
Yeah, our observable, objective reality. Absolutely.
Exactly, and however the people want to take the Bible literally or not literally, but it's in very simple form. It's trying to tell you exactly what it's, how it's created in simple words, the days, and in what order it came, the walls, the movements of the luminaries, the the shape of the earth in a way, and also about the tree at the center of the earth, as we spoke about the mountain, the luminaries, the stars, so also in Psalms 19 it speaks about like the stars being like anthropomorphic beings, as demigods in a way, like, and also it speaks about the cornerstones of the earth, the morning stars, so it's in simple words so that it can be understand, but the people literally take it how they want to, but
It is simple. It tells you who you are and where you are. You are
exactly.
you are loved of the Father, and it tells you all about where you live. That's it. Who you are and where you are.
It's the sky clock we live under, and
Yeah.
that's primarily, what we should be looking at. We were saying it recently that they got us looking at Hollywood stars on televisions, and we should be looking at the real stars in the sky, and there are probably very significant reasons why. And don't forget about how important the sky is in the planetary and star motions, and don't forget how important it is to the Vatican. They pay very close attention to the movements of the heavenly bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if it wasn't important, why does the Vatican have the most powerful telescope in the world?
Right. They got it. Yeah, exactly. What do they care? All right. There's definitely something going on. And the stars don't shift position, but so my idea is if something moves differently, or they're waiting for something, there's some kind of sign coming, I think, because like, what do they care about up there? They wouldn't spend the money on it, and you know that.
Right.
Even the story of Jesus being born, that the wise men from the east saw his star appear. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you're right, Gene. They're looking or watching for something that's going
They
to
are.
tell them that it's time to do something. I don't know.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
gonna go underground, and the flood's coming back. They're
yeah.
gonna leave us all here or something.
If Harry was here, Harry could tell us about maybe the next reset or something. But yeah, they're definitely
Right?
looking for something.
They really are, and I find it compelling to the point where I don't know. And the Vatican has an enormous sundial there, so they and they know things they're not telling us. So what more do we want, right? I want answers.
Right. Like, why are we not? I'm going to get an astrolabe. I'm going to learn how to use it and
Hmm.
teach my kids to use it. Like,
Cool.
dude, in the Greeks, their kids would have these things in their pockets and would know how to use them.
Hmm.
And we look at it and I'm like, what?
Right. And you can only triangulate on flat surfaces, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't work on a wouldn't work on a ball.
Everything works on a flat surface, which is one of the things that blows my mind.
Mm,
Like, you have to set it on the flat surface to make most shit work.
right. No, and especially the way it's described in the Bible, the whole clock was described in the whole first beginning of it. Bible 101 clock.
It's all interdependent, the stars and everything, the humans created to understand where they are, so the other thing I wanted to mention also, that in the Bible it mentions about like the stars in the sky fell to the earth like a fig shaken in a gale, so the figs are falling right from above to below, right? How it fall on a globe from below to above is not, it's not falling those figs from below above,
Australia. Australian figs fall up.
Yeah. I remember learning about sundials and sextants in school, and I could actually tell the time of day, and as a teenager, and just by looking at the sun. My best friend, she would say, "How can you tell? How can you tell what the time is?" And I said, "Well, it's the sun is like a clock. I mean, at midday, at 12 o'clock, it's right up there. So you just divide, about 9 o'clock there, and 9 a.m. there, and 9 p.m. there. It's a sort of a half a circle like that." And I actually worked it out myself, and I would be quite within. I could tell the time within 10 minutes of the clock. So she was always very amazed at that, and I'm like, well, that's it. It
Yeah,
was
that's the beauty of the simplicity of the nature, right? It's not very
yeah,
complicated, you know. So with one stick, if you really understand how the sky moves, you can really tell more or less. The other thing I also observed, if you see at the moon, I don't know if it's really true, but I've been observing, especially lately, about the moon. It's like when you have the first moons, it rises on the west, right? And the way it's been, the time it's growing, it starts appearing more, higher in the sky. So when it's half, it's on 90 degree above you, and so when it's full, it's literally
Right.
going to the east. I don't know if people are really
no,
observing that.
from east to west, from east to west.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
how from the first moon till full
Hmm.
moon, it's
Yes,
on the full moon, it's literally rising on the east horizon, so it takes that
yes.
whole 15 days to make full.
When it
And yeah, I don't know if everybody can see that, because if we really try to understand how it works, and if everybody's seeing the same rise and the same set in the same way during the whole lunar phase, yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah,
hmm,
but yeah, go ahead.
Evelyn, I want to mention that that's a lot of fun. I used to do that too. I used to work in construction, and it was nothing but empty houses around sometimes. Not even electricity, and I would make sundials, and I'd be able to clock the sun and be pretty accurate. So you can do it. It's fun too. It
yeah.
helps you feel. Did it help you feel like in tune with the things around you, like the world around you? It just felt good,
Yes, yes. In tune with nature, in tune with God. Like,
right?
hey, yeah.
Yeah. Like watches always bothered me. Like I don't care what time it is.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes. I
Daytime.
mean,
If I'm tired, I'll
it's not
sleep. If I'm not, I won't. And that's
So, speaking of this stuff, my daughter, who is 5, it's amazing to watch how intuitive and the things that they actually notice. We're going out right when we're shifting into the fall, and it was probably about 5 o'clock or so. And we jumped in the car to run to the store, and she goes, "Daddy, why does the sun look so much further away already?" And it was like her body knew it's still 5 o'clock. It should be a little bit more light than what it is. It was kind of awesome.
Oh yeah, if they have a bit of information, a little bit, and they're all understanding, they would see, so yeah, the kids are quite smart, so if they have the right information, a bit of right information, they can evolve their understanding much better with time, as they grow. So
mm,
yeah,
yeah,
because the education system is totally stifling and
yeah.
non-elastic for the mind.
Yeah, I remember actually making these sundials in school because well, we had history and the Egyptians and the Greeks and that, and we
Mm.
would make little sundials and test them outside in the playground. It was really really cool.
Yeah, they
Um,
work well.
yeah, where I come from in Gibraltar, the first thing you see when you come into the town, the first thing you see is a roundabout, and there's a huge sundial there, and it's really interesting because it's um it used to have a sort of a bowl, and I'm thinking now. I was taking a walk with my other sister, with an open-minded one, not the creationist, and I was telling her about the constellations, how they circle around the Earth, and in this sundial, the bottom part, the underneath the bowl, what used to be the bowl, they have all the constellations in order, depicted on the stone, and I was telling her about, well, they are in order, and in the center of the sundial, or of the monument, well, it's a monument right now. It's a huge sundial. It's got a triangle, like pointing upwards.
Mm-hmm.
I got this thought when I was with my sister, and I said to her, I bet you that point from the triangle, from the sundial, is pointing directly to Polaris, and it probably would be. I mean, I have to check some more stuff, but she was quite also dumbfounded by everything that I was saying, and but that sundial is has more meaning around it than what it looks like. I think they actually took that bowl part of the sundial, they took it away. But I think that at one point that bowl must have had water in it, and we could actually see there was a sort of a waterworks, some kind of small cupboard under on the grass where water pipes used to be. And I said to her, well, I bet you they were, imitating the the bowl of the flat Earth with the water inside, and and this big sundial pointing directly at Polaris. So she was quite taken aback, and I'm like, I'm running away, and my thoughts are all running away. I'm thinking this, thinking that, and looking at everything and with new eyes. Now, that was fun.
Oh yeah. So another thing I wanted to mention before also is that about in some part of the Bible it mentions also that after this I saw 4 angels stationed at the 4 corners of the earth that
Yes.
hold back the 4 winds. So it's
Very
part taken
interesting.
from the Enoch part, but again that it's mentioning, and there are many people literally taking it as 4 corners. How can these globe earth believers of Bible could explain that 4 corners on a globe? How do they explain that?
Yes.
How do they get one corner?
Sorry?
How do they get one corner?
I would
Yeah, now
explain
they
it as outside the container. Outside of the firmament. I mean, you don't know what shape that is. It could be that it's a sort of a square shaped, so it has 4 corners. I mean, if you're going to take things literally, I mean, yeah.
Or if you look at the Urbano map and take it, the 4 corners is at the inside, and that the winds are generated from there in the center at the north from the 4 rivers.
Yes.
Exactly. This is what we mentioned also in the Enoch podcast, that it's in many culture. The North Pole mentions those 4 signs, those 4 angles for us to have some orientation in that circle, and maybe they're just to have us to name those 4 sides from where we are getting that orientation of the north from above, and those 4 sides, and those winds, and the snow, and and the storms and the good weather and all. It's mentioned on those four sides. And in many cultures, these four sides have their own meaning and significance and way and their gods and
Right.
for yeah. So that's more of an interpretation of that way in four corners of the earth, or the four phases. Face.
It's just simple. Like, it's only hard when we make it hard.
Supposed to be simple, like kids understand it.
Yeah.
It's not until grown-ups get in there and make everything complicated, confused.
Just remember, Neil deGrasse Tyson said they are 96% stupid about the universe. And I said, wow, for once he told the truth.
Yeah, and the other 4% is dumb.
Yeah, dumb. I mean, I think they just make up stuff on the fly to try to sound smart sometimes. And they contradict themselves and they contradict each other all the
Absolutely.
time.
Well,
Yeah.
you got 96% stupid, and then 4% they say stuff that would supports the flat Earth, and they just don't see it. The 4% is the flat Earth. That's all and they just don't get it.
Did anybody see the new video that's been circulating around? It's out for about 8 months on YouTube, where a guy posed as a reporter and got an interview with a woman who does TED Talks. She's a PhD and got degrees in astrophysics, and he got an interview with her.
I saw that one today.
Yeah, that's
Did you?
Mark. That was Mark Knight from the Wakey Wakey channel, which they took his channel down because he started going off during COVID about all the lockdowns and everything. So they removed his channel, but there's people that have mirrored that video. That's Mark Knight. He had some great stuff. He had
that was gold
on Flat Earth Goes Vedic or something, and he did some interviews with some of the Jains and their temples, and the Jain religion is pretty much a flat Earth religion. If Kutai was here, he could tell me for sure if that's right. But yeah, he had a lot of good stuff.
Oh yeah, Jainism is just part of Hinduism. It's just one branch of Hinduism.
Can somebody send me some links on that specifically right there? What you were just talking about later.
Yeah, are you in the chat for this?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll post that. Sure.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Very interesting. The guy does such a nice job of backing her into corners.
Oh, she got so mad at the end of that interview. I should have asked for your credentials before this interview.
Yes.
He made her look and sound so stupid.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the best thing is any flat earther, maybe a few years of research, any flat earther can destroy any of these physicists and Neil deGrasse or any other people who are defending the globe. We are quite sure, Yeah, to be few years and totally going into flat earth, we don't really need to be, So
you
any
don't need
flat
the years
earth
of education with the plaque on the wall and thousands of dollars
exactly
to pay for it. We're doing this together, guys.
Right.
That's why they don't debate anybody, not only the ones who call themselves experts, but any flat earther, I would say, who has literally studied flat earth from few years can destroy any of these people, because there is no competition against the truth, because truth just flows, and these people need to make up lies after lies to cover the indoctrination, and they can't just keep it up. They can't keep it up because the truth is so powerful, so in the face. That's why. So that's great about that.
Yeah, that's real. And like you said, they won't come see us. They will not debate us. They will not talk to us. And look what we got to do. And look how well it works. I got to sneak in and hit them with a bunch of questions we know they can't answer, and look how it goes. Get out. Thank you.
But Sigma Octantis.
Right. And James Webb, any Globers out there really ought to be ashamed of being proud of James Webb, actually. That's such a joke, that thing. That's out there. That's how they're sorting us out right now.
It's pathetic.
It really is. It's truly just like pathetic, right, bro?
Yeah, and all
Oh
these
yeah.
Facebook groups publishing photos here, and I mean, every day I see new photos. Oh, they discovered this and they discovered that.
You know the pillars of creation are supposedly like 5 light years long or something crazy like that. It's just like, come on.
Well, and every day there's a new story about a burping galaxy or a Uranus
Smells
smelling
and
like
gas
fart.
and
Like,
Yeah, Uranus.
it's hilarious. Like, that's what they on TV trying to push, and it's like, guys,
no,
I
it's
really believe that at this point they are just doing and saying whatever just to see how many people will just go along.
right. It's how they're weeding us out. Because if you're gonna be on the bandwagon like that, you're in deep, guys. Because it's pathetic.
Yeah.
Like
The-
most of the content I do now, I just have to scroll through the NASA and all the little sciencey pages and look for the dumbass articles about stuff they say they discovered in space
Yeah.
and
Yeah, like Uranus
screenshot their
letting out
pictures
gas.
and make videos of it. Yeah, you believe this. Here, this is what you believe.
Right. Yeah. This is, and I've said it so many times. Sorry to be so redundant and repetitive, but Parker Space Probe it drives me crazy how they have that thing flying through 1.8 million degrees of anything, whether it's touching the sun or it's not touching. I don't care. It's 1.8 million degrees. And when you see the size comparison of the Earth to the sun that they show us, Parker Space Probe is now nothing more than a speck of dust flying into your furnace that's heating your school system. The furnace with like a 6-foot wide jet burning. It's just crazy. And they're like, yeah, special carbon 666, nanotechnology is protecting it. So what do you know?
Yeah, the funny thing is it takes a very little bit to convince the globe earthers because they they're putting their faith but in the wrong thing. That's the problem with these globers. Just a CGI can just change their whole faith of their faith is in globe, their faith is in eternity of in the lost space, and they don't want to see that creator part of it. They are totally attached in the wrong way to the creation. So, and it's helping. And NASA, we know NASA is the biggest deceiver of all, and in a way the organization which is really doing the most for this indoctrination to continue, for the people to believe that they are in this lost in space and they're the speck of dust in this huge unknown world, and they have all the support from all the different organization, be it financial, religious, or any other thing. Is to go against what all this cosmology and scripture says in reality. So it's like a literally one-on-one of going against the light. So
right.
And Bible, it's one of the book, as which other scriptures, as we mentioned before, and the ones we are going to be discussing in the future. Yeah, it's the same creation story. It's the same way as it
Right.
describes, the movements of the sun, the luminaries, the planes, the distances, seen from far, the mountains. It's the
Mhm.
center, the North Pole, with the throne of the god, the stationary Earth, enclosed system, the waters above. So it's one of the same. We had some discussions in one of our chats that somebody mentioned that Bible is the only flat Earth book that exists. It's not like that, people. Every book, every scripture is a flat Earth book. It's the creation story of how their faith and how their creation started, even like how Bible in itself is. So it's not the only, and there are many, and they are very very similar. They have their own version of it, but the more important that it's the same thing. It's an enclosed system. It's a flat. It has different levels. And everything very very similar. So one of the thing we could say that Bible too is one of the scriptures or book that is a flat earth book, and apart from the spiritual aspect of every religion, the most important part of the scriptures or the cosmologies is the creation story and the world they live in, and how to make it a better place. Yeah, that's for sure. So, guys, we're gonna be having our last thoughts about the show, and we're gonna be wrapping it up. So, who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. There was one more scripture I wanted to. I wasn't going to, but I think I will. And that's the one in the New Testament where it says, when Jesus returns, every eye will see him. And the globe believing Christians, the churchgoers, would say, "Oh yeah, well that's because we have technology now, and everybody can look at their phone and they can see Jesus coming back in the clouds." And I just want to tell them, please shut up. You sound so stupid. But I mean, you can't. Every eye can see him, just like every eye could see that tree in Daniel 4 from every place on the earth, because it's a flat, level, stationary plane. And so those believers, Bible believers that go to church who have a hard time with the flat earth facts, just try to question what you believe. That's all I'm going to leave you with. Please, I'm begging you, just try to question what you're taught and say, is this really true? And why do I believe this? Because I don't think most people ever do that. They just defend their indoctrination, and then they regurgitate their indoctrination trying to sound smart, and they come off sounding stupid to me anyway, every day. So, I mean, I like I told you guys at the beginning, I came out of the Christian church. Thank God, whoever God is, whatever God is, thank God that I came out of the church world, because I see that it did more harm or damage to myself, my intellect, my ego. It pumped my ego up. I mean, most churches won't tell you this, but they will, in no uncertain words, they'll say, we know better than the church across the street. We're right and they're wrong. And that attitude feeds the human ego of arrogance and pride, which is one of the great things that the Bible talks about, that God actually hates, that he hates arrogance and pride. And we find that in so many church going Christian believers who still believe in the globe, who can't look at the black and white words in the pages that we shared here tonight. And we only shared maybe 6 or 7 of them. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of verses in the Bible that absolutely imply that the earth is flat and stationary. So, Gene, good to be with you again. Vikka, thanks for hosting. Evelyn, good to be with you again. Robbie, good to meet you. Bless you all, you guys, and I'll look to see you again real soon.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother.
Awesome.
Who's going next?
I'll go now. I'll keep it very short. The Earth is not a spinning disco ball in space. Okay, that's it.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Evelyn.
I'll get out of here next then. The whole point of all of it is all the stories. It's what brings us together, the things in the stories that unite us that matter, not the things that point out little differences between us. And that's why flat earth matters, because it's one of the things, like you said, in everyone's story, that's what the truth of. creation or whatever is that the flat Earth.
Oh yeah, brother, definitely. Yes.
Yeah,
What we are and
guys.
where we come from. Thank you, bro. Yeah, go ahead, Genie.
Go ahead, brother. Finish when you're done.
Nope, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I want to say thanks to everybody who shared their time with us tonight, and it was great to have the panel here. Keith, Evelyn, Robbie, thanks for being here with us. Vika, excellent show, great topic to pick, and thanks for having me. Definitely very interesting. Yeah, I think that religion, I stay away from the topic. I believe what I want, and I'd rather talk about everything else except for that. I'll talk about politics though. Yeah. That that doesn't bother me. I'll rip them apart. I don't. They're a problem, but there's no division between them anyway. So and that should be an easy one for you guys. But it was a great topic, and well, somebody said tonight the heliocentric model, the sphere ball spinning wet rocket in space model is only 500 years, maybe 700 years old. You throw a couple hundred years in for the buffer zone, and then they dumped it all over the place with Copernicus and Newton and Galileo. But everything else before that and during that is all flat Earth stuff, and they speak about it in the beginning. They're trying to tell us that it's very important to look up there, and I don't know why. I really wish I knew why. It's got to be something to do with food, I guess, or communication between us, spiritual communication between us and them. All of it, and that's why they hold so much importance in the Vatican towards the sky. And they have us looking at stars on TV and the stars in the sky. All these little things connect, guys, and hopefully you help us connect more of them too. And by the way, we're talking on these shows, and it's all up for debate, everybody. It's all up for speculation and conversation. And hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for being here, everyone. Vikka, thanks a lot, brother. Pleasure to be here with you guys.
You too, brother.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, brother. As long as we separate all the scriptures and cosmologies and believe and respect everybody's opinion, and leave the religious part out of it and see the similarities in a way as a human, and also our creation stories and our world we live in, as we understand and try to understand everyone's part of it and get the whole picture, right? That's the whole idea about these discussions, so yeah, definitely Bible is also one of them, and we're going to be researching more different ones too. So thank you everybody for being here, Jeannie, Evelyn, Keith, Robbie, and everybody watching us today. Thank you everyone, and make sure you guys check us out next week for another episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is Vikka Draziv signing off, guys. See you soon. Bye everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, Vikka.
Goodbye.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye.